So this week we're helping a client refinance a loan in one trust and purchase another property in a second trust. And one of the most common questions I get from clients when they're buying an investment property is, should I purchase this in my personal name, joint names or individual names, or should we purchase it in a trust? Now, there's a lot of, complicated issues that come up in that decision, not all of which are lending related. So there's asset protection issues, there's estate planning issues, there's taxation issues. That's quite complex and probably outside of my remit. So, but it's worth considering, and usually we'll have their accountants involved as part of this process. From a lending point of view though, it's a little bit more simple, and effectively there's pros and cons to both of them, and I'll quickly address what those are. So if you're buying in a personal name, the pros are, it's a simpler process, it's generally cheaper, it's generally faster, and the application process is going to be similar to buying a normal property. So there's no extra hoops that you need to jump through, there's no extra paperwork, and there's no extra costs. It's just basically a normal loan, and it's got all the pros and cons of a normal loan. However, the downside to that is when you're looking to borrow again, it's treated like a normal loan. So if you've got a $500,000 investment loan in your personal name, there's effectively no way to have that not affect your future borrowing capacity. So if you've got plans to grow a large investment portfolio, or you want to buy an owner-occupied property that's got quite a lot of debt, these investment purchases may impact those long-term plans. And so we want to make sure that we're aware of those when determining the structure. When buying in a trust, the negatives, the opposites of the positive when you're buying a personal name, it's a little bit slower, it's a little bit more cumbersome, there's a little bit more paperwork, and overall it's a little bit more expensive. Not always the lending itself, but there's often legal advice you need, there's often trust deeds need to be stamped, there's compliance reporting for the trust itself, so there's a lot of costs that come, there's often more land tax as well, depending on the state. So the costs are overall higher, but the main benefit is that certain lenders will allow you to effectively quarantine debt within a trust. So you've got a trust with $1 million of debt. Some lenders will allow us to effectively ignore that trust if you are borrowing in your personal names or in a different trust. And so what that means is if you've got plans to grow a large property portfolio or plans to take on future owner-occupied debt or buy a beach house, for example, we can exclude that debt from the trust so it won't impact your future plans. So effectively, if you are making the decision on whether to buy in a trust or not, the main things to consider are what are the future lending plans and what will the current debt and how will it impact them.